Well, office hours, where today we're doing one of our mental health episodes about not comparing yourself to others. Although I think it's funny. So Sto and I, if you don't know, Sto and I live in two very different cities. And lately, Sto and I have been sending gas prices back and forth to each other. And I am comparing myself to you, Sto, because it's wild how cheap gas is where you are. And
yeah, we're at 425.
It's made me hyper aware of how expensive gas is. I think I sent you like $7 yesterday. We saw it at gas
Yeah, what
station.
did you send me? I dropped my phone and everything. Yeah, $7.19. Like that's I don't know. That's actually like unbelievable.
Anyways, not that that has to do anything with anything, but if you want to know what Sto and I do when we're not on office hours, we send house videos and gas prices back and forth to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My God.
But today I'm here to talk about go Sto.
No, you're totally fine. Yo, welcome. Office Hours, episode 106. We appreciate all the support that we've been getting as of late. I like, especially like, oh my God, let's see, what video did we do? We did some like controversial, I think it was like during the Drake beef or something like that. Yeah, that's right. It was a Drake beef. We were just like eviscerating him or whatever. And, you know, sometimes those comments get kind of brutal. But so far with the Jay-Z conversation, it seems to be we are all in agreement. So we appreciate the support. Leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. And hit our links below in the description. There are ways to work with either of us. There's ways to work with both of us together. Obviously, more resources and stuff like that. Nora's Culture Fix channel and stuff like that. There's so many resources. So check the links below. Leave a like. Share it with a friend. Share it with a friend. Share the video with a friend. And regardless, we appreciate all 700 of you for subscribing and giving us a watch every so often. But yeah, we're talking about not comparing yourself to others. I think that's such an important topic, not just in music, but I think especially in music, and the creative industry and stuff like that. So yeah, that's where we're at today.
Yeah. And I think it's, you know, like, I think the culture that we live in lends itself to comparison, right? Like Sto and I, right before we started, we're talking about like house hunters, and like it's so easy we consume so much of other people's lives, and of other but we don't always know what's real or what's not. The line between reality and actual reality is really blurred, especially with like so much reality television, with so many content creators who are like sharing their lives, but like really not really. And so I think that's important even to think about, is like, it's challenging not to compare ourselves to other people. And then when we do compare ourselves to other people, we don't even really know what's real or what's not real. And then add to it music, which really is a lot about like the perception of how people see you. Like, it's not always what's real, it's what people think is real. And so it's really, and then you hear ridiculous things like, well, everyone has the same 24 hours as Beyonce. No, we don't. Don't all have the same 24 hours as Beyonce, because Beyonce's 24 hours has chefs, drivers, nannies, assistants for the assistants. Whereas like you and I are here taking the train to go to the thing, to do this, to cook our own meals, to walk our own dogs. Like it's not the same. It's not the same. And so there's like the culture that encourages comparison, and then all the like smoke and mirrors that try to make it seem like, well, your favorite musician is just like you, when in reality they're not, and that's a marketing ploy. And so I think it's really important today to talk about this, and tell us, as you're watching, whether you're live with us now or you're watching after the fact, like, where do you feel stuck when you're comparing? That is not a real word. When you're comparing, or what, you know, like, tell us where you feel stuck, because I think there's also maybe a little bit of like shame or self-judgment when we do compare, or when we're like, oh, I'm not just like this person and I should be. So yeah, that's what today's episode is about. And I think, as always, we say like mental health is more important than anything else in this work that we do. So that's what we're here.
Well, you nailed it in that, like, to be clear, like, we all have done this. This is, I sometimes I think people see these episodes and are like, oh, like that we don't engage in some of the same things that we speak on. But I think that's why we speak on it, because we, like, are you kidding me? There definitely were points, and still are points, where I compare myself. But it's just that's why I think that's why this episode is so important, because I think once you realize and pull yourself out of, like, dang, like, in some cases you're building a narrative based on just what you've seen on one platform or one side of the story or whatever. And so I think it's easy. And the reality is, social media, the way these companies run these platforms, they want us to be doing that, is the reality of the situation too. And so, we both have done that in the past. And I think a lot of it is just, again, when you zoom out and realize what's actually happening and what's actually going on, instead of taking everything in a vacuum, and not even just what you're seeing, but also how you view yourself, I think things change.
Yeah. And so what you said made me think about, like, why is comparison such a thing? Because that's how things get sold to us. If you use this deodorant, you will be just like this. If you buy this hoodie, or if you invest in this service, and so I think, like, the first piece of it is to remember that, like, you don't have to be everything to everybody, and you don't have to please everybody. You don't have to be nice to everybody. You don't have to make music or art or a product for everybody. And the more that you are clear about who you are trying to connect with and serve, then what other people do for audiences that are not yours don't matter. And then the flip side of that, and maybe this actually even happens in reverse order, is the flip side of that is, like, you really have to be clear about who you are.
Yeah.
Like, who are you? Why are you doing what you're doing? What makes you different than everybody else, right? When we used to do spaces before I left Twitter, I would always give homework to like our listeners, and I'll offer the same homework now, is to, like, be really clear about who you are, what do you do, and what makes you different from everyone else. It's actually that differentiating factor. If you can name and articulate that clearly, people want you because you're different from other people, not because you're just like other people. Like, we don't want cookie cutter. We want something that uniquely connects to and relates to us. And so if you can figure out, like, what your special sauce is, and then know who your audience is, then comparison doesn't matter, because it's not about what other people are doing for their audiences. You're not in competition. And then the third piece, I think, like the mental of, like, there's enough success for everybody. There's enough views, there's enough likes, there's enough money, there's enough clout, there's enough, whatever it is that you value, there is enough for everybody, including you and the 6 other people who are also doing something that's similar to what you're doing, but they're doing it a little bit differently. And some of that is, like, you just have to believe it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just have to, the thought might come and say, well, like, so-and-so does it better than you. And you just have to tell that thought, like, no, thanks, bro. You're not helping me. Pop, blow it away. You know what I mean? Like, I always picture those, like, pop the balloon shows where I have, like, an intrusive thought, and I'm like, pop. But I think that's, if we're really thinking about, like, how to interrupt all the pressure to compare yourself, it really starts with getting rooted in trusting who you are, trusting your audience will want who you are, and trusting that there's enough for everybody.
I genuinely believe, like, getting, and here's the thing, it's not just about knowing yourself from, like, this is the type of music I make, or this is the type of people that I'm trying to connect with. It's literally not even just that. It goes so much deeper, because you have to, because, again, in this age of how quick things are going and how fast social media is and stuff like that, it's like, unfortunately, you have to deal with people who make assumptions based off of one thing that you said, off of one picture, this, that, and the other. And if you aren't rooted in yourself and know who you are and what you're bringing to the table, it's so easy to let comments and stuff like that from people who, which again, we're going to tie this like full circle here in a bit, who don't even know you, off of one statement. And so like when you're rooted in yourself, those type of comments and those type of people don't really phase you, because you already know, like, okay, this person just saw some stuff on social media. They don't know me. They don't know my journey. They don't know like how much I've done to get to this point here. So, why would I give weight to that type of comment? But then again, that works on the inside too, because it's so easy to just see people's numbers. And that's another reason why social media, that's why now they're starting to show you not just how many people like or retweet, but how many people see a post. They just started doing it over like probably since like the pandemic or whatever, where like now everybody can see how many people have viewed, because they want you to be like, well, I'm there. How come they're seeing their post more than they're seeing mine? Even though that means nothing in terms of engagement, that means nothing in terms of like actual, weight and stuff like that. But they want you to think, oh man, I need to be posting more, because if this person's getting views, and I need to start, doing stuff like that. That is the trap. That has always been the trap. I don't care what platform it is now. That's another thing about comparisons. It's so easy to be like, well, Facebook is better than Twitter, which is better than this, and which is better. They all suck. They all do not allow you to actually get in direct contact with your audience, but they are making sure that they do everything they can to keep you on their platform. And one way to do that is say, hey, notice how your view numbers are lower than theirs? Shouldn't you be posting more? And then it just spirals from there. And so it's that type of comparison crap that also can send you off the deep end if you're not careful.
You know what happens too? Like, I think we oftentimes really honestly overestimate our own numbness to that kind of stuff. Like, oh, well,
Absolutely.
I'm smarter than the algorithm, or, oh no, like I would never let that like impact me. But it's so everywhere. It's so in the like
embedded. It's embedded in our existence now.
So embedded that like it's like breathing oxygen, like you're being conditioned all the time. And so it becomes extra important to like build in systems where you're not getting caught up in it, like limiting your social media time, focusing on collaborations, having a shine page where you're writing down like the things that you're excelling at or the positive feedback that you get. And then part of that is also like what you were saying, Sto, about people are going to say, like, people are going to talk bad about you, no matter what you do. Like, people are going to have a critique no matter what you do. And part of that is like, you have to be okay with not being liked. Like, if you're going to have, it's inevitable. And like,
sorry.
No. And like, like people, especially like as an independent, right? As like an entrepreneur, the more you speak to someone's like core, the more they're going to ride for you. And so if you're like riding the fence, or you're like you're just going to end up pissing everybody off. And so at some point, okay. And what that means is really like, you have to do the inner work of knowing that you're creative, you're talented, you're worthy, you're valuable, you're lovable, like you're important, all these other things, no matter what other people say or think about you, that your control. And like, this is really mental health stuff, right? This is a mental health episode, but that like your locus of control is internal versus external. If you rely on social media, your audience, your customers, your fans to validate you or invalidate you, you're always going to be at the mercy of like trends. And it's the same thing. Like, if you allow trends to dictate the kind of art or product or creativity that you're going to do, you're always going to be like it's going to be wishy.
It's a roller coaster. Yeah.
It's a roller coaster. And I think, like what's worked for Sto is like, and I think what's worked for me is that we both are very clear in like who we're for, what we're about, what we stand for. We will say the uncomfortable thing. And do we get hate for it? Sure. Are there other people who are like getting more attention, more opportunities, whatever than us? Sure. Also, yes. but do we feel good about what we do? Do we have people who show up consistently and support us and love on us and like send us donations when we ask for a little tip, or, you know, like all the indicators of connection? Absolutely, we do. And we do it, you know, we do it from this place of being secure in who we are. And I think that is uncomfortable, especially in this world of like, well, if you just try to be like everything to everybody, like it can be uncomfortable. But it also, I think, is a better recipe. It's a more sustainable recipe for long-term success and sustainability, which I think a lot of artists really want.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I think it's, and listen, you know, Nora nailed it. Like it's if you, when you are so tied to these vanity metrics, which again, like we just said, like that's what social media wants. Especially when I was pivoting from like writer to consultant and stuff like that, I was constantly comparing myself to all types of people, and even people that were close to me. Not obviously in some like I hope they fail, like never that, but always just on some like damn, like how do I make that happen for me? And like even little things like that can set you on a path of distraction and stagnation and stuff like that. Because even I have had times where I'm just like, damn, like why am I even doing this if I'm not going to be at this level? Why am I even doing this if I can't get recognized by this person? Here's the crazy part. I don't think if you pull back into this, and we haven't even been talking about like the real life comparison of it all and stuff like that, but you'll find out how many times have you compared yourself to someone else or whatever, but then you actually kind of low key got exactly what you asked for, and nothing changed. I remember when I was like, if I just work with this artist. I used to think like that all the motherfucking time. If I just worked with this legend, if I just worked with this person, and then I did multiple times. And not only do they not like me, but nothing has changed. I'm still the same person. No, I'm not getting this huge mega bag now because I work with insert name here. And that's okay. And again, that's okay. But it's like that helped me really register like, damn, what am I doing out here? Being like, damn, how come I'm not working with this person and this person and this person and that person and this person? I'm so thankful to be working with the people who want to work with me. That's where the blessing comes from. That's where the happiness comes from and the graciousness comes from and stuff like that. I could give a like we again, it's the same with the Jay-Z shit. I don't give a fuck if I ever meet Jay-Z. I hope he sees it. Fuck you, dude. What the fuck are you doing? Like straight up. But that has no impact on me because I'm still going to keep doing what I got to do. It doesn't matter if he sees this, clips this, puts it on the internet, and then says, yo, I can't believe this nigga Sto talk about me. And everybody piles on. I'm still going to be the same nigga that I was before all that. And so it's just, that's why it's just comparing yourself to other people, trying to, you know, how come I didn't get this opportunity? I can't tell you how many clients I talked to. How come I didn't get how come I didn't get on the radar? Nigga, who cares? There's so many other freestyle opportunities out here. You don't need to be on, you know, just because it has 3 fucking words on it and now I have to be on it. There's so many other opportunities. And that's the other part. When you stop comparing yourself to, oh, I need to be on Coachella or I need to be on Lollapalooza, all this other, you know, just big name shit that low-key you're probably not even ready for. Instead of being at the festivals, the opportunities, performances that are literally right in your backyard. You know what I mean? You're so busy comparing to all these celebrities and all these other people, even in your own damn circle, that you're not even, and that's what happens. You're blinded. You're so busy comparing yourself. You're not even seeing what's actually right in front of you. That's not even just from an opportunity standpoint. That's from a blessing standpoint. That's from a good things that are happening to you standpoint. That's even from a listenership standpoint. Stop comparing. Hey, how come he has more monthly listeners? Niggas are listening to your music. Be thankful for that. I'm talking too much. My bad, Nora. Damn.
No, you're not. You're not. And for folks, if you haven't watched what Sto is talking about with the Jay-Z, is our last episode 105, is about should you have dinner with Jay-Z. So go back and watch that because it's a little bit juicy. You know, like the other thing, Sto, that you bring up is like the things we compare ourselves big picture, and then we compare ourselves like by age 32, I should. By the time I'm my first album, I should. And none of that, like all of those timelines, friends, are arbitrary as shit. Like it's all made up. And I'm working with one artist now who released the song like albums and years ago, maybe like 10 years ago, and the song just got placed on a huge platform and a commercial that you might see like after one of our episodes type shit. So like the timeline is all made up. There's no too old, there's no too late, there's no so and so did it like this, so I should do it like this. Like none of that is real. And when you compare yourself and you set these arbitrary markers, really what it does is it like restricts your creativity. It restricts your entrepreneurship because you're so busy looking at what other people are doing and comparing yourself to what other people are doing that you're not allowing yourself to be creative and innovative and imaginative. And then the second level of then what happens on top of that is now you're so focused on doing it like this other person that you're trying to be perfect and you don't want to fail and you don't want to make mistakes because they allegedly did it perfectly and you have to do it just like them. And you stop yourself from learning because we learn through mistakes. We learn through so-called failure and so-called imperfection. And that's also how our audience connects with us when they see our trial and error, when they see the evolution and the growth. And so, you know, we've talked a lot about like, you don't have to be where other people are. You don't have the same resources as other people have, but your timeline is not the same. Your process doesn't have to be the same. Your rollout doesn't have to be the same. I don't know how many times we've talked about people who are like, oh, I'm going to do a surprise album. Why?
Why?
You're not artist. You are not a celebrity. No one cares. Like, and not that no one cares, but like the relationship is different. And so,
and you're comparing. When you do that surprise album, you are comparing every time. How many times? Nora's heard this too. Beyonce did it. You don't have even remotely close to that fan base. If you drop a surprise album, it's not going to hit the same way that you think it's going to hit because you're so busy comparing to a celebrity who did it first.
And like, even that, like, why do you want to mimic what someone else has done, right? Like as a creative, as an entrepreneur, the beauty of what we have is we get to do it our way. We get, Serial Sensei says, and then you'll be surprised when the album doesn't go anywhere.
Bruh.
And really what entrepreneurship at its core really is about is taking what you do have and knowing how to use it, knowing how to work with it. So it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing because you get to be, again, creative, imaginative, playful with the things that you have and see what that can do for you. And that's where innovation happens. And that's where those like sparks happen. That's where something new comes out to be. We have all these other celebrities. We've seen what they're doing. We don't need that. And especially now as like people are becoming more and more and more critical of celebrity culture, also something we talk about in that Jay-Z episode, you can do it your way. People want to see the humanness, the authenticity. And again, that's how people connect with you and they build that emotional bond with you because that is what music and entrepreneur, even if you're not, you know, if you're not just making music, but you're like selling a product or you have a brand or what, it's about the human to human connection. And so the more you compare yourself, the more you're interrupting your ability to connect with the people that want what you uniquely offer. And it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy, right? Like this really is a process of the thought coming in. You have to identify the thought. Then you have to pop the thought or interrupt the thought or redirect the thought or, you know, picture the cloud floating away, whatever like you do in those things. But you have to allow that interrupt. Like it takes work and it takes practice and it goes over and over and over again. MISNMO says people definitely connect with authenticity and people want that. They want authenticity. They want uniqueness. They want that genuine like realness over perfection or like curation or all those other things.
And you know, even when I talk to art, like Nora just said, I talk to a lot of artists that are like, oh, I don't even want to post content because it's not perfectly like, you know, again, like filtered out. Like I can't. I've talked to a couple clients that are just like, oh, well, I don't really post because it's like it's not going to be professionally made and like all this stuff. It's like, no, who cares? Like the especially again, casual listeners and people who aren't tapped into the industry like that, like, and even those that are, like, They want that authenticity. That's so important. The only other thing I really wanted to slap on here is just like, while you're so busy comparing yourself to people who you believe are more successful or whatever, you also have absolutely no idea what they've gone through to get to where they're at. I that happens a lot. Like like it's so easy because again, like Nora said at the beginning of this, like we're seeing a curated version of what their life experience is. They're not going to be out here always showing that. Oh my God, they're not out here showing you every rejection email that they got before they landed on that festival. They're not showing you every person that dissed their music before they landed on the playlist that you're coveting or whatever. Like, and that's way before we actually talk about this thing called life that kind of sucks sometimes. We have no idea what other people have gone through to get to where they're at. And especially with how social media is, and me and Nora have been talking about this since we started the damn channel. There's no such thing as overnight success. That doesn't exist. There's a lot, even when you hear, quote, their debut album, you have no idea how long, how many different monikers they went under, how much rebranding they did, how many albums got tossed in the trash before we heard their debut. And again, like I said, I'm barely scratching the surface before we start talking about, what actually happened in their life to lead them to where they are now. And so before you start comparing, like, and this is, I mean, obviously, like you have the whole industry plant conversation or whatever, but like even outside of that, some of you are comparing yourselves to people who've been through a lot just like you. And so, having this, like, how come I'm not in the same spot as them? Like, none of us are in the same spot as anybody else. We're all on our own separate journeys. We're all taking things one step at a time. And the sooner you actually, like, again, it's about, it sounds so corny. It really is about believing in yourself. People are going to come at you no matter what you do. Again, you could save the world right now. Someone will find a reason to get mad at you about it. I promise. And so, believing in yourself and making sure that you're rooted in that. And I'm not perfect at that. That's something I have to practice damn near every single day, let alone when life's daily bullshit comes at you. And so we are not saying that that's easy, but when you are rooted in yourself, it is so much easier to look past a lot of the stuff that is actually out here low key to distract you. And even more so in some circumstances, you'd be surprised how many people are exaggerating or being dramatic with their story so that you feel like you need to be on their level, even though they're not even on the level that they're talking about. And so, again, there's a lot of facades out here. There's a lot of, stuff going on. And so, again, that's why, like, being rooted in yourself, believing in yourself, regardless of what comes your way, and understanding that everybody's on their own journey at their own pace. You can't lose. The age thing that Nora was talking about, she was so on point with that, because I can't tell you how many times I'm like, oh, I need to be at a certain point at a certain age. Like, niggas just started a house hunting at 35, but that was because I was comparing myself to when my mom started doing it. Completely different time period. So it's just like, even stuff like that. It's just, you're on your own journey. You're doing your best.
And we haven't even talked about, like, all the social structures.
Exactly.
Right? Like, it's very different if you're a white person versus a person of color. It's very different if you're queer or trans or a woman. Like, the gender and sexuality and immigration status and, like, all of that of it. If you have children, you don't have children. If you're disabled, if you're not disabled, like, we are not the same. And each one of us lives in a very different social location. And that changes how we move. Like, even the era we're in, 10 years makes a big difference in our access to wealth and, all of that. And so we're not the same. And that's what makes art beautiful, is that we're not the same. And it's all of our different experiences that we're trying to share, and audiences want that to connect with. So the too long didn't read of today's episode is that lean into what makes you uniquely you. Trust that your audience wants it. And it really doesn't matter what anyone else is doing, because it's about your connection and your relationship with your audience. If you've made it this far and are still watching with us, hello, welcome to Office Hours. Thank you. We do episodes like this every other Tuesday. If you have things you want us to talk about, or things that what's on your mind, shared in the comments with us now live or after the fact. Our next couple episodes, we're doing one. What are we doing next week? finding funding. Next week, we're going to talk about how to fund your projects and
I'm actually
how to
excited for this
apply
one.
for grants. And then we've got another episode coming up after that on setting deadlines and the timelines that you do need and don't need, so that, how can you get organized and all of that. Go back and watch some of our previous episodes. We've got a ton of resources, which is what we're here for. If this has been, oh, absolutely. Miss MISNMO, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name, says, this is my first time seeing you. If you can share about your platform, I'm listening. Absolutely. So Sto and I are both music industry consultants. I've run labels, managed artists. Sto has done consulting for as long as I have. We started Office Hours as a space to make practical advice, tangible advice accessible to creatives of all kinds, from a perspective that doesn't necessarily accept the ick in the music industry, but is really like on the side of the artist. And so we do these episodes every other Wednesday where we provide practical advice for independent artists, and talk about things like negotiation, networking, relationship building, planning tours, collaborations, contracts, how to build your team, like you name it, we talk about it. And we talk about it from a very grounded perspective of like what you can take today and go implement right away. Because this whole thing was rooted, I was at a conference and this guy was on a panel and he was like, well, why should I share what I worked so hard to achieve? Because you're on a panel, bro. And then he was like, well, just call the head of YouTube and ask him to put your what? How the fuck am I going to call? Like, it was so cool, connected. And so this was created from this perspective that artists should have the same information access that everyone else does. And we're trying to create a new music industry. So actually, I'm curious, Miss and Mo, how did you find us, since this is your first time? And welcome to Office Hours, if you're comfortable sharing. For everyone else that's watching, thank you for riding with us. Sto and I, like I said, we do this because we want to create a new music industry. Oh yay, I pronounced it correctly. It's so fun. I think one of my love languages is pronouncing people's names correctly. If you're able, Sto and I do this for the love. We gladly accept tips and donations. So if you want to send a Venmo or a Cash App, and just put Office Hours in the line, it gets shared between us. Otherwise, your shares, your comments, your copy and paste to your favorite platform really helps, because it gets more eyes on this, and then we create a new kind of culture in the industry, because that's really what we want to do. Oh my goodness, this is so exciting. Scrolling this came up. I love that. So welcome to Office Hours. Reach out to us on your favorite social media platform. We share a ton of information. I think both of us really practice what we teach in terms of being about community and connection. And, the world is shitty, and art is really important in a shitty world. It helps us think differently. It helps us imagine the beautiful alternatives, of like what a better world could be like. It helps us cope. And so that's what we try to do. Yeah, I got so excited. Thank you for the question. I got so excited answering it. Final thoughts, though, before we close today?
Yeah, no, first off, thank you all for coming in and watching. We kind of shifted things around time slot wise, this last year or so. And it's been working really well. We already got 3 likes on here. Appreciate all 3 of you that liked the video already. Leave a comment, yo. But yeah, give yourself some grace. Again, stop comparing yourself to other people out here. Everybody's on their own journey. And that's the last thing I'll say here. Everybody's out here. We are all struggling. It's tough. It is not easy out here. And so before you compare yourself, remember, they're probably struggling just like you are. But yeah, again, the shine page, the knowing yourself part is so important. Even if you have to sit down and really write all that out in free form, don't structurize it or whatever.
Write it out.
Right. I do that. Nora said this when we first started the channel. I sat down. I just started writing shit down. And it's just like, that did help me just solidify, this is who I am. No one can take that from me. It doesn't matter what they're doing. It doesn't matter what they're saying. I'm doing my best. That's what matters. And so, when you know yourself like that, you genuinely can't lose. And so, yeah, leave a like, leave a donation if this is resonating with you. This is honestly one of our longer episodes, so we appreciate you all sticking around. I had already forgotten what we said we were doing in 2 weeks, but
grants next. So
grants, that's right. Grants. That's an important one. That's a super important one. Even I need some help on that shit. Damn.
We're doing grants, and then the 2 weeks after that, we're doing timelines for things that you should, like
that's
timelines
right,
yeah. Planning. If you have topics you want us to talk about, let us know. We are here for you all. Thank you. Drink some water, stretch, take care of yourself. The world is shitty, so be nice to yourself, but be nice to your neighbors also. And see you all in 2 weeks. Bye, friends. Thank you.
We're out of here.